All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is up to the fifth Meet Your Delegate meeting. My name is Peyton. I go by Pros11 online. I'm one of the governance facilitators, and I've got the honor of hosting Tim Schupner here today. Goes by Schuppi or UltraSchuppi, depending on the Maker platform. And yeah, we'll be having a Meet Your Delegate talk. For those who haven't attended or maybe joining us after the fact on the recording, our structure is pretty simple. We give about 5 to 10 minutes to our delegates to let them know a little bit about themselves, their platform, share any slides they wish to present, and then the rest of the session will be Q&A. We do cap these at 30 minutes to try to be respectful to all delegates, whether they joined early or later on in the process, keep it as standardized as possible. But I won't waste too much more time. Minor housekeeping things. If you have questions, do feel free to chime in. Feel free to chime in. If you don't have a mic or aren't comfortable doing so yourself, you can drop them in the sidebar. I'll be watching the chat and we'll be incorporating things in as appropriate. This is being recorded, so do be aware of that. And we'll be going on YouTube later. So please try not to speak over each other and mute yourself when you're not speaking, just to cut down on background noise. Feels like I dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's there. If you thought of anything else, feel free to say so, Tim. But without further ado, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks, Peyton. Cool. So let me try to get this thing running. So everybody should see a nice screen, a nice picture not made by me now, I hope. Yeah, so welcome to my Meet Your Delegates session. My name is Tim Schupner. I'm 40 years old. I'm married. I have 3 boys at home with the age of 10, 7, and 5. I'm a German citizen, and I'm living pretty close to the border to France in the southwest. My professional background is in computer science. I'm working in software engineering for more than, essentially 20 years now. I'm currently serving as a senior engineering manager at Camunda. That's, I think, enough for me personally right now. A bit of background on me and my relationship to Maker. So I got in Ethereum in 2017. By the time, we hadn't too many projects running on Ethereum. So I quickly found Maker and found the product very interesting. I opened up a vault or a CDP by the time in the beginning of 2018, minted some DAI, leveraged on ETH, also bought my first MKR token, also was participating in liquidations through this nice UI we had by the time. And then I basically started lurking in Rocket Chat and in the forum for about a year, I would say. I think I even signed up pretty late because if you're just reading, you don't need anything there. Around that time, I also thought that having MKR tokens is also not only an investment thing, but also something that I should actively use. So I put my MKR into the voting contract and started, basically by that time, started to participate in every single poll and executive, burned roughly 5 ETH already, which is pretty tiring to know. And at some point, I just realized that there is a guy called Aaron, who was basically the guy who were doing signal requests in the forum to deal with parameters on the Maker protocol. That this guy basically stopped doing his work. I mean, it's not really work because it's not paid, right? But I sensed, okay, it's the classic from user to contributor story. I basically picked up this work and was bombarding the forum for, I don't know, a couple of months, I think, with signal requests, dealing with debt ceilings, stability fees, not stability fees because we already had the rates group by the time, but basically a lot of parameters that need to be set. That was also a reason why I joined the rates group in the beginning of 2021, which later became the Maker Open Market Committee, which I'm still a member of, and I really enjoy working there. I also had some time in the Autonomous MakerDAO working group that was in the beginning of this year as well, which was basically consisted of people not on the payroll of the foundation or any existing core unit, but interested in basically participating in growing the DAO. By the time I collaborated with Seb a bit on the idea of creating the Euro DAI thing, so a DAI currency pegged to the euro. and even try to push for core units for dealing with that. So basically bootstrapping, which failed, I think, almost a month ago. Yeah, so being a delegate has always been some kind of thing I wanted to do. Basically, 2 years ago, we had a guy called the Drunk Whale in Rocket Chat, who I was poking him basically a week to, hey, can you please support this executive? We are waiting for 2 weeks already. And by the time I was already started, basically speaking to this, to this whale in the end. Unfortunately, he left. He sold all his MKR token, so that's not the first victim I would have for delegation. But basically, by the time I decided, yeah, that would be a path, and I basically ditched it for the Maker Labs core unit. But now, as it's gone, I can do essentially what I wanted to do in the first place. Some few words about me as a delegate. I think delegation is a great thing, and we are so much better now. In terms of being able to actually do executives and also bundle voting power in the end, because the voter apathy is still striking me. I don't really get it because from my point of view, voting is not optional. If you buy MKR, you need to participate there, or you delegate. But now, as Planet X is out, we don't have any delegate who is outside of the US, which is sad from my point of view. And my background is a bit different, I think, compared to other delegates. So I don't have any real background on, financial stuff, despite working in the Maker Open Market Committee. But I think I can bring some, non-US aspects into the voting or into the delegation crew. And also looking on stuff more from a technical perspective maybe helped as well. How I'm generating my opinions, I spend a lot of time on the forum, but mostly of the time passively just ingesting what I see there. And I see a lot of really smart people there, and it's really nice just reading stuff. I think we already have the situation that we see that we lack expert in certain areas. I mean, the deco MIP that we did not pass in the last MIP cycle, I think is a good example where we need experts on different dimensions as well. But certainly, I think a delegate should not be or does not have to be an expert. And you certainly cannot cover all the aspects relevant, but you need experts that you can consult. And we do have in a lot of situations, we already have a lot of cool people, also smart people working on stuff. Also, I think delegation should not contain lobbying or some kind of outside representation. In some cases, you probably cannot avoid that, but I would rather have a lobbying core unit for dealing with certain stuff that we probably need to do. So why I'm going to propose myself as being a recognized delegate, because I'm doing it already for more than 2 years. So I don't know, probably not all of you have seen my post on the forum. Instead of having a nice write down of the core values and stuff like this, I basically put in there my hot wallet for voting. And you can see there that I participated constantly in all the polls and executives for the last 2 years. So what's changing for me is that I need to be a lot more transparent about why I vote for or against a certain proposal. But the added effort is just basically writing that down, and probably be more open to communicate with people who might have questions around that or concerns, or are not happy with the way I'm thinking. Which is not that much work, I think, because I'm already spending quite a lot of time with the protocol. But that also means that I'm going to vote anyway. So this is not really a warning, but I certainly will not change my voting behavior just because somebody is delegating a lot of MKR to me. I'm not doing that for some kind of money that might eventually pop up for recognized delegates. I also don't feel right now that this is going to be a full-time job because I already have a full-time job. But if it turns out that it evolves into this direction, that's fine as well. But so far I'm happy if this is not working out. If nobody's delegating to me, I don't care. It won't feel like a fail for me. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I could share right now. So that's even more than 10 minutes, I would say, right?
Right on, about on the money. So thank you. Appreciate that platform presentation. So like I mentioned earlier, this will kind of move us to the Q&A section. So anyone who's attending is welcome to ask things. I've got a list of kind of like general questions we've prepared to ask the delegates. So we shouldn't have any silence, but definitely want to hear from the people that are attending here, if possible. I haven't seen anything pop up in the sidebar. So if I don't see anyone unmute in a moment, I will fire off a first question. But remember, yours is probably a better question than mine. So it doesn't look like I'll be.
It would have been nice to see your list first, but there should be some kind of surprise in here, right?
No surprise. Sorry about that. We had it a little more organized on the Rocket chat, but I realized we don't have the delegates extension anymore on Discord. But I guess one of the questions, and you kind of alluded it to right at the end there, is this question of delegate compensation. I was wondering if you had feelings about like how delegates should be compensated, or like, you know, if that affects how you'll be acting as a delegate going forward.
Well, I think my main point about delegate compensation is that we should totally avoid this looking like the kleptocracy. So before this should go on chain, we should have a lot of discussion and probably even people from the outside saying how this is dealt in comparable situations. But it would look totally strange for me if we would push something on chain as a poll where already delegates could basically vote on their own salary. But I understand that from a different angle, we do need some compensation for people who spend a lot of time there. So I think it's quite hard to come up with a good plan, but the plan needs to be well prepared before it goes on chain. And I think there should be some kind of, I don't know, I would probably just abstain from the poll. Because it feels weird to decide on my own salary in the end. I think we need some to attract people, experts, for example, and we need them. But maybe we just need experts in core units that basically act as working groups proposing or evaluating, I don't know, the risk of, I don't know, a certain MIP that is in the forum right now. And same goes for collateral onboarding. I just looked at the two collaterals that are on the polls right now, and I just have feelings, and this is not good, not working. You cannot avoid that you have a gut feeling on a certain topic, but it's of course better if you have some facts on it. And I cannot provide them. That's for sure.
Thanks for that insight.
Still no questions.
Could I ask like a more broader one if you're up for it? Like I like the reflection in your delegate platform of kind of growth over profits. I was wondering if you wanted to talk about that a little bit and maybe mix in kind of just your greater like vision for MakerDAO. Like, you know, what is MakerDAO supposed to do, and how does that vision of growth over profits fit into that?
Well, it's not really that I have a vision for Maker as a product. It's just that I think that we are just in a growth stage. So we are far away from harvesting, I would say. We are still on the very beginning of the hopefully of the hockey stick. So I'm right now, before the meeting, I was working on a new signal request for increasing this the surplus buffer again. And I basically realized that it doesn't matter if we burn MKR or if we just accumulate a surplus in the surplus buffer, just from a value perspective for MKR holders. But still, there is this thing that burning is important, and I kind of agree on that it is important from a PR perspective. But I would rather pile up cash that we can spend on new core units or on some crazy ideas or even experiments, than going into the harvesting mode too early. That's basically the reasoning behind that.
Definitely encourage others to ask questions. So I'm going to take a little beat here. But if you're trying to challenge me, I can do it. I can go for the 30 minutes. So no need to test me.
I rather have some more challenging questions than having awkward silence, to be honest. But I can do awkward silence as well, if you want to.
So David on mute briefly.
Yeah, I was gonna ask Tim. Do you anticipate like not wanting to be delegated more than an X amount of MKR, for example? Like I know some people don't want more than 10 or 20K MKR. It's like a really big responsibility. Do you think that you have a certain number that you ideally would like delegated to you as a recognized delegate?
I mean, it's getting scary at some point, and at some point you need to think about how do you protect against bribes or against people kidnapping your kids to get something done. But yeah, I'm not expecting this to happen anyway, to be honest. But yeah, it would probably be a good idea to think about this before going into panic mode once this happens. But yeah, I'm currently not expecting this. It's probably not even doable, right? I mean, the delegation contract we have right now does not have a cap mechanism, I guess.
That is correct.
My understanding is there is no cap mechanism.
Yeah, not yet.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to think about this, but I don't have a clear answer on that.
I don't have much time, guys. I'm at work and just walked out of the noise. Nice to see you, Tim. Wow. So I heard you on delegate compensation. Have you looked at what it costs to actually vote on polls and to pass an executive, just, in terms of fees? This isn't getting cheaper. And why should everybody who's not doing anything get a free ride while other people who are doing a lot of work get nothing?
Yeah, you're totally right. Yeah,
I've worked in a lot of co-ops, right? Okay, and I've donated my time in co-ops and intentional communities. And a theme in all of these communities is a lot of people, or I should say, a fair number of people doing 90% of the work, while the other 70% do nothing. And I think that's unfair, right? And so I think compensation based on action is reasonable, right? And so that's my view. I don't want to make this about my platform, but I really want to encourage you to think about that. And if you want some hard questions, and I'm going to have to leave and I'll probably have to listen to this later, here's a couple. The PSM TNT out going to 0. I want to hear what your views are on that. SEB, like what's going on with SEB and how that was approached, right? I mean, we didn't even have a poll on this and there was an MIP thrown up, right? That we didn't even get a chance to discuss it before an MIP was thrown out. I think that was kind of, very fast, very hard, What else do I have on my plate to talk about? The idea that, I've been hearing stuff from different delegates of, the people delegating their maker kind of levering in on them, in the sense that, as delegates, we really want to vote the way we see fit for the protocol, right? But if we don't have a material stake, maybe it's the case that these people who have the maker have a right view and maybe I should go along with them, right? But if I'm going to do that, why don't they just vote their maker themselves, right? And so I have a real hard issue. It's one of my biggest problems with delegates and political systems is like conflict of interest in voting, right? Not just bribing somebody, but literally controlling them with vote, because this isn't a democratic system. It's kind of a, one maker, one vote system, right? And if you have 50,000 maker, you got 50,000 votes. And that's not democracy, that's something else, right? And so I think there's a lot of issues here to work out. I think we can work these out, but I just think that it creates a lot of hazards. And so I'll probably listen to this later because it's really noisy and I have very low phone battery left. So I eagerly anticipate hearing your answers on some of these. I'll try and listen for a bit.
Yeah, cool. That's great. So I hope I get all the topics sorted. Let's start with compensation. Yeah, of course, there needs to be some compensation. But right now, my incentive for doing this is because I'm totally overinvested in MKR. It's totally unreasonable how much I have acquired compared to my net worth. It's probably not comparable to other people, but compared to, well, what I think is reasonable or my wife would think is reasonable, it's way off being good. So my main incentive is I want to participate here, to make the protocol better, to have this as a good running investment. And so far, the gas fees that I have to pay for for participating in governance are basically covered by the source credit payouts I get right now. I mean, this is not a good way of thinking, like money I get per hour, of course. But yeah, this is like, for me, it feels like participating in an open source project, but with skin in the game. So right now, that's okay for me. If I would need to quit my job for doing that, oh no, this is not good enough. For sure, it's not. Quickly, the PSM thing. I voted in favor of the PSM thing. I'm actually not 100% sure if that's the right decision. But I think if it helps the growth teams to really underline that we do have a hard peg essentially to the USDC or to USD, I think it's worth the effort of trying that. If we find out it's not working and I don't know, I'm not trying to come up with a doomsday scenario, but if we find out it's not working, then we can definitely sketch out a plan of how to get rid of that again as well. So what's next? SEP. Yeah. So I mean, I think it's in the platform statement. I already said something about I'm trusting more in people than I trust in KPIs, and it's probably bad. Probably a lot of people already know that I already work with SEP quite frequently in the Make Open Market Committee, also on Eurodai. So I totally trust SEP. So there is this drama aspect I really hate, but I agree with Rune that we cannot avoid drama in this situation, because we are in a worst of both world scenarios, being not a democracy, but also not, we don't want to have stuff closed doors, but transparent and open. Could this have been handled better? For sure. Right now, I would not vote in favor for the offboarding proposal, because I don't think there is a major flaw in the system we have right now, or what SEP has been working on. But I think it's a good training for us as a DAO to go through that. The only downside we have right now that it's hurting exactly one person, which is SEP. That's a pity, a really, really bad situation. But it would have happened a couple of months later anyway. I have seen this coming, to be honest. We have some friction on the real-world finance area for, I don't know, since summer, I would say, maybe even earlier. So this is not really new. I mean, Sebastian was already saying something like, if you want to remove me, please, please just propose this sub-proposal. I don't know, 2 months ago in a governance and risk meeting. So it's not surprising, but disappointing. Yes, it is, for sure. But I mean, it's not going to happen before January. So I guess there will be some kind of discussion prior to that. And maybe some more facts, and I don't know. It's good that we don't need to vote on that today, I would say. Private entanglement. Yeah, again, I'm not an expert on that. I have no idea if this qualifies as private entanglement or not. I can just say I right now I still have trust in Sebastian. It hasn't changed because of this offboarding proposal. If I would need to vote today, I would not support the offboarding proposal. Did I cover all the stuff from MakerMan?
Yeah.
Sure, there might be one more, but I've forgotten what it was.
Too bad.
Those are the three I had noted. Oh.
Yeah, well, I mean, we are already in a fatal situation there. So the only downside from my point of view of going to zero on the tin is that we are missing out on fees. But if USDC is losing the peg, then we will, we will just get a lot of USDC onto our balance sheets. That's going to happen anyway. It doesn't matter if we have a point or if we have 10 bips or 0 bips, that doesn't really make a difference from my point of view. I'm actually not expecting a lot of change there because right now we see a lot of offboarding from the PSMs and not onboarding. So I don't expect there is a lot of change there at this point.
So I did get a kind of related question coming into the last topic, and I thought it might be interesting more broadly to hear just your thoughts about the challenges between like bringing on core units and potentially offboarding them, and how we as a DAO with this new structure. Now we've got delegates, another player of power in the system. I'm curious if you have thoughts in the system on how our process can be improved, or if, yeah.
I mean, of course, I made my own experiences with a Eurodai / Maker Labs thing, so I'm a bit biased. So I'm not really willing to share a lot on details on that. I have to admit I'm still digesting that. But I think, I mean, we do have some mechanisms that are great, I think. So I think it's great that we have some tool for incubating teams, which is essentially part of the function of SES. But when you look at my MIP39 thing for Maker Labs, there were a couple of things in the comment section that really made me think, are we really doing this right? So, I mean, is SES the only way of doing incubation? Probably it is right now, but is that correct? Is that the proper approach? Maybe it is for now, but is it on the long run? There was stuff like maybe Maker Labs should be done within the growth core unit, where I think, really, shouldn't we have the goal of having multiple growth core units in the end? And is something like prototyping stuff part of that? It's not really related to me as being a delegate, but it certainly was an interesting ride to learn about aspects on how we deal with this. I mean, so far we have been pretty good on onboarding new core units. I mean, I wouldn't have expected so many by the time the foundation decided to shut down. So in the beginning of the year, when we had this call in the autonomous MakerDAO working group, where Amy was telling us that the foundation wants to shut down in, I don't know, a couple of months, I was, oh dear, so what's going to happen? Basically, all the teams from the foundation are going to transition over, which is essentially happening. So let's deal with it. That's the way it goes, and it's okay. I mean, there's a lot of talent and people that already know how the system is working. That's great. I'm actually not sure if we are good enough for onboarding external talent as well. But yeah, I don't have data, to be honest. But this is stuff I'm thinking about for sure.
Really good reflections to have. Thanks. Mark, do you want to get to you? We are coming up on the end of time here. So let's have Mark ask this question, and then we might be wrapping up after that.
Thanks, Payton. Just wanted to circle back real quick on the process as it relates to offboarding facilitators. I feel like in this situation, we should have some sort of process and structure, right? Like at an actual business, in the US, you're an at-will employee, but generally, like as a business matures and the leadership becomes more experienced, there are formal plans that like lead to someone being fired. You don't just fire someone like out of the blue with no notice. It's just not a good way to run a business. It's not a good way to build the company culture. Like, you want to give someone a chance if they're not doing something right or not performing up to the standards, to make amends and get to those standards. Businesses call them performance improvement plans. Like, I don't see why we couldn't, as a DAO, implement something similar and avoid drama. It's, I think, unproductive and distracting from the overall mission of the DAO. But I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I totally agree on that. But again, this is humankind has no history of running DAOs. So we are pioneers here, and of course, stuff like this is supposed to happen. So yes, we should be more professional on that. I'm actually not sure how this will evolve. In the concrete case of Sebastian, definitely, but on the long run as well. But I guess this is also a great opportunity to learn from that, how we could do that better. So yes, I think we should have something something in place there. But to be honest, we also don't have anything that really finds out if core units are adding value to the same amount that they get funding. So this is also something where we totally lack. So we know how much money we put into each core unit, but do we know how this is spent? Or, well, some core units are transparent on that, some are not. It's not a primary problem for now, because we are in the lucky situation of needing to spend a lot of money anyway, or we should do that. But is it an efficient way on the long run? For sure it's not, and we better prepare for that before it's a big mess. So that's my take on it. I think the same applies for having some kind of plan for people that are probably not delivering the same way as they expected, and we're totally bad there. That's true, but we should be better there for sure.
Yeah, thanks. I think that makes sense, and I think you see some of that feedback in some of the core unit budget proposals for people that are renewing their budgets. You saw that in like content productions thread, for example, where I think there's mismatch of expectations between some delegates and holders. So like that's one major issue I see is, sometimes there's a gap in what the DAO or delegates expect relative to what the core units are doing. And sometimes it doesn't even show up in the core unit threads themselves until, this budget comes up for vote. And then, quickly people could find themselves without funding, without being a job. I mean, you could say that the onus is strictly on the core unit facilitator to maintain the delegates relationship, but I feel like, that's definitely an area that needs to be improved.
I think it should be taken off the responsibility for core unit facilitators, because this needs to be standardized among all the core units anyway, from my point of view. So it's not that you get a carte blanche for whatever you want to do with the money you get. There should be some kind of metric or some kind of standardized system on how you deal with that. When it comes to, I don't know, however you call it, OKRs, whatever. There are so many tools that you put in there, but there needs to be something, for sure.
I'll have a post that's relative to that subject coming shortly.
Yeah, really looking forward. I really enjoyed the session last week with you about strategy reviews as well. That was really cool.
I appreciate that. Yeah, it's 100% same subject. So
cool.
Keep an eye out. I'll ping you.
Right on. Well, always exciting to see work and collaboration take place in the calls as well. Really appreciate you doing this for us, Tim. Take a look for Tim's delegate platform on the voting contract. We'll be merging his GitHub pull request that contains his platform and all that other fun stuff. So you will be able to delegate him. Probably if you're watching this back, it'll all be live. And for those here with us now, just wait a little bit. Thanks everyone for coming. I do encourage us to continue the conversations in the forums. Take a look at Tim's delegate platform and engage there further.
Yeah, and please reach out wherever you want to, forum, Discord, even this funky email address I have. So I'm really, really happy if we can have some follow-up conversations here, even if you're not interested in delegating to me. It's always nice to talk to people with different opinions. And one more time, if we want to give your handles, I guess, for people to contact you. I think it's all in the platform post. I think you posted it somewhere here. I'm going to repost. Yeah, it's towards the top. I'll repost that call. That's it. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everyone again for joining us. Posted that link one more time. We'll make sure it gets in the video description as well. But yeah, thank you. Have a good one, everyone. Thanks, Peyton. Bye.